Thnx. Hey girl. Yeah, I'm glad you could join me. Let me take you on a field trip with me back in the day. I know I never introduced myself, but after looking at my page, I realized that I've been doing a couple of videos for about 4 months now, and I thought it was about a little over a month, but I was doing them just posting them. I wasn't with the network at the time, so I've only been with the network about a month now, and I think I got the video itch going on here because my mind keeps traveling and traveling, and I keep getting on these topics coming in my head, and I keep having things and so much to say, but I want to make sure I say the right things and don't send out the wrong message to no one. I want to make sure I stay on the adult level, grown, sexy, wise, stuff like that. But due to the circumstances, some things is just left unstated. So I'm going to go back in the day, somewhere around in the early 70s. So then you'll figure out how old I am, but other than that, it really doesn't matter. I tell everybody how old I am, and they really don't believe me when I tell them, so what's a French fries? Anyway, I used to be a good /bad girl back in the day. I'm not proud of the life I lived, but I've done some things. I wasn't no prostitute, I wasn't no on the street, I wasn't out here flipping backwards and doing tricks. I was me, always have been me, always will be me, but I was a go-getter, and I always managed to go get mine. And I'm what you would call an OG. For those that have a new term for it, it's originally old gangster, and that's the life that I live. But due to the circumstances, I had fun doing it. I'm glad that my life has changed since then over the years. It's not nothing I'm proud of, but this may help someone that's out there that want to be in the game or that's in the game and think they know what's going on and don't really know what's going on at the same time. And most of them are men out there. You walk that walk and talk that talk, but make sure you can ride that roller coaster with no strap on when it comes your turn, if you know what I mean. But they had the games out then, but they were more or less like California, New York, and all these places, and from me being down south. During that time, they wasn't doing those games. You just had your crew and your soldiers with you, and you had niggas and niggerettes that was on the side that was right here, right now, up here with you, no matter what. And that was part of the life that I was in. I hung out with the big dogs. I was a big dog, and as I said, not the stuff that I boast about, but I like to share it sometimes because people look at me and they be like, no, not too high. Yeah, I never did mess around with no drugs. I call drugs anything other than weed. Marijuana is a drug. That's a drug. Because nowadays you can get a prescription and go get your little marijuana and make you feel good. But due to circumstances and over the years, I have been free of all this for some time now. So it's no longer a part of my life. But I had my share. I made my money. I done my thing. I worked 3 jobs most of the time. I had 3 jobs, when I wasn't working, I was on government system. When I wasn't on government system, I reached in my record bag and I got my backpack and I done what I had to do. So nowadays it's gang members where I believe, I'm not sure, but you have to initiate each other and beat them up, kick their ass, and all this kind of shit for them to jump in the game. We didn't have to do all that back then. We just had some loyal people that was on your side, and they was ride or die no matter what. When one went down, everybody went down. When one fall, we all fall. You know, you couldn't fight one without fighting the other one. And if you didn't fight, you know, then it wasn't too much that we had to do with you because you was like a punk-ass nigga. You just didn't belong with us, you know, because anything can happen out there in the street. So everybody needs to be watchful, mindful, and on their toes all at the same time. We wasn't hating on each other where, oh, when your back is turned, this and doing something ain't got no business. It came to the point where your friend and stress you out, and now of course that being your friend. I've seen that a whole lot too, coming through this journey. But back in the day, it was, the style was afro, then it went from afro to Jerry curl, and from Jerry curl to perm, and then the straightening comb have always been there. It wasn't a flat iron, it was a straightening comb. It has always been there, you know, and us as Negroes, we really was very few of us that had real good hair, you know, and I was one of them that wasn't that fortunate to have that kind of great hair, but I managed to keep it up. I managed to look my best at whatever I was doing and wherever I was going. You know, I always had respect for myself and respect for everyone else, and everyone I came in contact with and was affiliated with, they had the utmost respect for me and still do as of today. So it's not what you do, it's how you do it. It's not how you know, how you dress, it's how you carry yourself. You don't need all that to be a good person and to have a good heart. And you never let your past just have you over a barrel where you like, oh, I'm not going to never do no better, I'm not going to never advance myself, and all this kind of stuff. That's a lie. That's not true, because it's on what you as a person make of it, you know. So I say that to say everybody's not a thug, everybody's not a gangster. Just because they say that don't mean that they did it. You know, it's the life that they live, the things they done done, the places they done been, what they see, you know, and some things that they have seen and take them to their grave without even mentioning it, no matter what kind of pressure they under, you know. But then you have those that in today's society, everything is kill, kill, kill. They can't endure, they can't take a decent fist ass whipping. You know, if you beat somebody up now, legally, here, they want to come back and stretch you out because they got the ass whipped. That's not a gangster. That's a punk ass nigga or punk ass chick, whichever way it goes, it really doesn't matter. Because you got to, if you can take a little ass whipping, get up, lick your wounds, and keep on going, then you're a G. You know, then you're a G. But if you take an ass whipping and you don't want to lick your wounds and keep on going, then you got to stand on your mind where you want to come back and retaliate on somebody behind foolishness. And a lot of our brothers out here nowadays losing their life behind foolishness. I wish I could bring back the good old days, you know, back in the day, but unfortunately I can't. I can't do that. None of us can. So we have to more or less, like they say, when you're in Rome, you do what the Romans do, but that's not true either, because when you're in Rome, you don't have to do what they do, because if they jump off the bridge, I'm not going behind them. I'm sorry, I'm not jumping off no bridge, because I still haven't learned how to swim, and I don't trust the fucking floater at all, period. But me, myself, I always was a person that tried to stand on my word. I always had my big girl drawers on, you know. If somebody pissed me off, you know, or they bringing it to me, I was able to stand up against them, you know, because I will walk tall. It doesn't matter whether I get my ass ripped, you lay me out, shoot me, cut me, whatever you want to do. If you piss me off bad enough, I'm walking tall and I'm coming. And this is the attitude that I had until I realized that I was raising children and my children were paying attention to the activities that was going on, you know. And when it got to the point where they started walking tall, it was a bother for me, because now I'm worried. but it's the example that I was setting that I had to deal with and fix that. And I actually had to fix that, you know. So I don't have no halo over my shoulder. I thank God that my children grew up to be decent men and women, you know. Every now and again, somebody might cross my path and make me reach in my cigarette and say something or do something, you know. And it doesn't really have to be that way, you know. I had an incident not too long ago. I was in the laundromat for whatever reason. I ended up in a laundromat, and it was 4 minutes that I had left on this dryer, and it had this other young lady in there. She looked like she was on something. I don't want to say nothing bad about her, but I know she out there, and I know she's out there, and I can see it all in her. You understand what I'm saying? I know that, been there, seen that. So I left the dryer to go to get my clothes out of the washing machine to put in this particular dryer that I had 4 minutes left on. I came back. Yeah, right. She put her clothes in my dryer. So I'm like, okay, Chef, you need to handle this accordingly, because it was like taking my $4 or my $400 or my $4 nickel, pennies, whatever, it was mine, you know. So I'm like, did you not see the 4 minutes on there? And she said, oh no, it had stopped. I said, how can it have stopped when you only on the last minute and it takes $1 to put in for 30 minutes? It couldn't have had stopped, you know. So she looked at me kind of puzzled like, but using the card, she can't give it back to me. It's just lost. So I told her, I said, you owe me 4 minutes. She said, oh, well, you got that. You know, so I'm like, no, you owe me 4 minutes. I said, because if any kind of way, and I had to do just like I'm doing now, if any kind of way you would have caught me maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you would have had to give me 4 licks any way I wanted it, however I choose to get them. You would have gave me 4 licks. And she looked at me kind of puzzled like, you know, and I just walked off, went to the next slide and done what I had to do. But she looked at me like, this bitch is crazy. And I'm like, ain't you lying? So don't underestimate the next person, you know, because just because they look a certain way, or just because they look like they're not going to bust a grape in a fruit basket, you understand what I'm saying? They just might be the hammer. So you watch what you say to people, watch what you do to people, because trouble is easy to get into it and it's very hard to get out of. You know, so that was a lesson learned there. And it stayed on my mind to the point where I almost got pissed off, but I didn't. I controlled myself. And that was part of the good old days up to the future, you know. So, and used to go out clubbing. We were clubbing all over everywhere, and to prove that I was with. It looked like it wasn't a nice night that I was fighting. Even if they set the drink on a bar too hard, that sounded like a bell. Ding! It just wasn't a nice night that I was fighting. And actually, we got put out all of the bars that was in the neighborhood. Yeah, we got put out of all the bars in the neighborhood. And one of the guys that was in the crew decided that we needed our own bar. So therefore, you know, we ended up opening up our own bar. And it lasted for a few years, and everything went well, you know, because most people that came there, they knew us. And they knew what type of people we were. So when they came with their best behavior on, because they didn't want the trouble that was coming behind you. But it's better now. Fast forwarding, you see they have. You really can't do nothing much these days because if they're not sniffing and chewing on the bad stuff, they're on this gooey goddamn blood, and they're doing all kind of crazy stuff that the mind is a terrible thing away. They cannot control the drugs that they're on, and they greed that they have for money, and what you have and they don't have. It's really out of control, and it's hard to get it under control because it's so plentiful everywhere you go, every state you're in, every other person you meet, you know. So nowadays you have to be very careful of who you talk to, where you go, things you do, which I don't go out anymore, you know, and my life has taken a whole nother direction since those days, and it's just so many war stories that I can tell, you know, because I was courageous, I was very courageous, I was out there, you know, and I try to say to myself because it don't take much to stop me, even now, if I'm out there, you know, it's like, I just drug all these other crazy motherfuckers, somebody that's gonna step on my toe or step on my shoe or look at me stupid, you know, so I just kind of stay neutral. And I had some new friends, is you guys. Because you can either listen to me, you can cut me off, you can like me, you can dislike me, you can post a comment, you can send me an email, and I never see your face. You never see mine unless it's different with camera. You know, for decades, you my new best friend. Yeah. You know, life is a gamble. And every day you wake up above the dirt is a good day. Because you don't know what's going to happen once you go outside that door. I lost a lot of friends along the way, you know. Sometimes I think about the good old days and the times we had and the things, the foolish things we used to do, you know, like riding on the freeway, just I've been capturing it like a fool, like they're not going to come down, young and dumb, just don't know, you know, walking around with a cat, just looking for somebody to eat, just crazy stuff, you know, for no reason at all. Person ain't got to do nothing. It's just stupid. And it was fun and games then, but after looking back over and thinking about it, there's time now, it's not fun and games. You know, I remember one time we was out studying, and I was like in the neighborhood area. You know how you had little neighborhood clubs and bars and stuff like that. And they had a couple of guys had been in another club that was about 2 blocks down. Well, the club that we were in at this given time, it was like more it was like a more settled crowd. And we were in there, and it must have been about 3:30 in the morning. And I had my younger sister was in there, and she told me, she said, I'll be back there. I'm going down the street XYZ. So I'm like, okay. So it was getting late, early in the morning, everything winding down. And I heard a couple cats go off. So my husband and I, we went down to the other club where she said she was going to be. And they had a disturbance going on down there. And when they were standing out there, how they business. I was walking tall. I went in, was nothing strolling around but the stroll light and the music. And I went through there calling her name. Oh, if you hear me, you better answer me. And I went all the way through. They had a little restaurant called. I went back there, and I'm not sure whoever it is, they have to probably try to run the cover back there and end up blocking the door. So I was like hollering for my sister, calling her name out, and someone hollered back at me and told me she's not here. You know, they called my name and they told me she wasn't here. So I went back to the same way I went in, to the same way I went out. And everybody that was there that seen me the next day, they was like, "You're fucking crazy, you know that?" And I'm like, "It really doesn't matter, because I know my sister had just left me, you know," and it wasn't even 10 minutes later before I heard the book, you know. So it was like, it don't matter. And that's what I mean when I say walking tall. You can't be out there with all that foolishness, because life is too short and death is too long. And you never know what corner is around when you turn home. Because I could have easily lost my life that night. And you know what? It was like 48 hours later before it even set in on me. And I realized that I could have been killed, you know, many times. But I thank God for keeping me and bringing me thus far, you know. And it got like the gangsters, the thugs, and the games and the gang and all that kind of stuff. The game ain't gonna never change. The people won't change that's in the game. But the game itself is not going to ever change. You know, the drugs, it's not going to ever change. The price might go up, but the weight's going to stay the same. You know, and you got new hustlers coming about. You know, you got the young men walking around paying sagging and don't really know what that means, but they thugs and they gangsters. If they really know that, they thugs and gangsters, they'll pull their hands up. Because that was a trend that went along a long time ago in the jailhouse, and that's how they was able to tell if you wanted to be spanked. You know what I mean? From the other side. So you wouldn't want to be walking around with your pants sagging. You might, if anything, you might put you on a pair of robust jeans or something and cuff them. This is at the bottom. Put your cuff in one leg, straighten the other leg, then you're a gangster. They ain't walk around being a thug that's the same beat, you know. But the real gangster will be looking at you, licking your fucking eyebrows, and then you're really be in trouble. You know, you running in and out of jail 2-3 times. The people know you're bipolar. They telling you, oh, you'll be back when you get out, and you're running back. What you running back for? They ain't got nothing in there but a bunch of niggas calling me and shit. What you running back for in there for? Huh? Because you're wearing your pants there? Come on now. I'm going to keep it real. I ain't got time to be bullshitting and cutting the corners, because that's what's out there. You know? That's what's out there. So, it's like, it's not that much that I can be able to tell you, but I can tell you that try another path. If you can hear me, if you can see me, try another path of life. Do something different, you know? Do something different. Try to get your education if you don't have one. They got plenty colleges out here, and little schools and trades and stuff that you can take up, you know. Yeah, I know the white man don't want us to have nothing, but if you don't want to have nothing, then he's not going to give you nothing. But if you show anybody, it doesn't matter whether they're white, blue, green, or purple, if you show them that you do have common sense, that you are mature, you know, and that you are educated, or halfway educated, black man or woman, then they can see you and recognize you for who you are. But if you walk around here like, they don't want to give me nothing, they don't want to give me no job and all this kind of shit, or you go try to look for a job, you looking like a thug, you talking like a thug, like boom house, and naturally them people not going to give you no job. Naturally they're going to look at you and see, I don't think we'll be able to trust him. You know, he looks like he can, or she looks like she can take on the whole doggone plant. You know, that's not what's up. Trust me, it's not what's up. And then when you get older and you're having work, you won't be able to draw your Social Security, you won't be able to get welfare, you won't be able to get food stamps because now the state and the government will step in. And if you don't have no kind of work reference over the years, and you're going into your retirement age, or where you're tired of working now, and you need to sit down and draw your Social Security, guess what, buddy? You're not going to be able to get work because you don't have a work history. If you don't have a work history, you didn't put nothing into it, the state and the government is not going to give you anything back. So all that thugging, bugging, hustling, drugging, you need to start to try to prepare for your future because you're not going to be young forever. You understand what I'm saying? And your gang members, your soldiers, your crew, they're not going to be there forever because they're either going to die off, or they're going to get old, or they're going to be doing some numbers in jail. And if you do too many numbers, you know what's left. Now, alphabet, you will be doing alphabet because they'll get tired of seeing you. And when they let you out and you old, now you like 40, 45 years old, and you dragging out of jail or penitentiary because you've been in there all your damn life, they let you out on good behavior and all this kind of shit, or they just need to get rid of you and make room for the new, you know, out with the old and in with the new, so they're going to let you go. So now you out on the street and you like, man, fuck, I can't do nothing. I can't get no job. I don't have nowhere to stay. And if I do have somewhere to live, I need to try to contribute to where I'm living because sooner or later they're going to get tired of me because it costs us to live, it costs us for electricity, water, you know, rent, occasionally gas, food, cleaning supplies, you know. If you can't contribute and you just land around cheap enough to say you got to go. And sooner or later, they're going to tell you, you got to get the fuck on up out of here. You know, ain't nobody going to take care of no grown-ass man. You understand what I'm saying? So now, and I've seen this. Trust me, I've seen it. So now, you're going back out here, and you're going to rob some fucking body, or you're going to kill somebody, so you can go back and get your 3 hots in the cop, because you can't function on the outside, because you've been running back and forth in jail, or penitentiary, all your doggone life. That's bullshit. Trust me, I've seen it. I know it. You know, I know it. And after a while, I'm like, folks get tired of your bullshit. You know, well, hey, look, let me tell you something. We're looking at this nigga jacket here. Well, let's just lay him down. We're going to give him some alphabet. L-I-F-E, motherfucker. Plain and simple. You know, so I thank all my people out there. I'm going to keep it real with you. I love you. Think. You got a mind, you got a brain, think. Think about the next step. Think about your older years. You know, you don't want to be walking around past 60 with your poo-poo shorts on and your sandals and your socks. You know, got a little old kangaroo hat you've been holding on for 25 years. And a can in your hand. What kind of shit is that? And your breath smelling like tobacco. You're not going to do it. You ain't going to get nothing. It ain't going to happen for you. You know? You meet a nice little woman out there and she got kids. You want to abuse her and beat her up. And all this kind of crap.